For April 7th, 2025, 4:30. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional territories and the oral practices of the Blackfoot Nation, which include the Siksika, the Kainai, and the Piikani. We also acknowledge the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda First Nations, the Métis Nation District 4, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta. We're making this acknowledgement to demonstrate our continuing efforts to work together as we strive for reconciliation through increased and collective learning. And we'll start off the meeting. We got a staff introduction here. CEO Parker.
Thank you very much, Your Worship and Council. I'd like to introduce Staff Sergeant Harms. He's just coming up to the front here. Just a little background on Staff Sergeant Harms. He worked in EMS part-time for 7 years as an EMT with some management duties. And then he worked for a large public oil field company for 7 years as Director of HR and Health and Safety. Then his background in schooling, before he joined the RCMP, he has a business management with focus on leadership from SAIT and various other EMS training. His RCMP career is varied. He's been posted or seconded to 7 detachments, Three Hills, Stettler, Brooks, Claresholm, Natin, Piikani, and currently Drumheller. He's sent to some other detachments for short stints and to overseas issues and assist. He and his family have maintained their primary residence in Brooks in Alberta since 2017, and he has had the Brooks commander on his career interest since his promotion to Staff Sergeant. So for his RCMP career, he has 16 years of service. His career focus has been on the frontline general duty policing, but worked in traffic for a short period of time. He's also worked traffic enforcement for Safe Roads in Brooks. He's done some Plague Crows work on a pilot project in a rural regional CRU team and in SAD, and has a solid experience in informant handling, search warrants, and supervising a small municipal GISG or CUR unit. He's also acting detachment commander on a long-term basis in Three Hills and long-term in Stettler. He was promoted to Brooks as a watch commander, corporal, for 2 years, and then performed acting Brooks Ops NCO sergeant for 2 years. He was promoted to detachment commander roles for Claresholm, and at the requested district, he took on a long-term acting detachment commander in Piikani. He was then promoted to Staff Sergeant as the Drumheller Detachment Commander nearly 3 years ago, and he has come home.
Welcome to Brooks. Say a few words.
Yes, thank you for that, Chris. That was summed up quite nicely. So kind of took the words right out of my mouth. Thank you for that. So yeah, so really that's a snapshot of my background. Other than that, I am an Alberta boy. I was born and raised in Alberta. And I spent a lot of my youth in that Barrhead, Whitecourt, Marythorpe area. And then I wound up in the Elk Point area as a young teenager. And from there is kind of where I entered the work world and got into the oil field and EMS and so on. My parents at that time had a small farm, and they had a couple horses, and they tried out or did some trial work, I guess you could say, with a small herd of cattle, and got into some alfalfa farming, and I helped them with that. And kind of all of that I found has really benefited me in the past, because when I'm talking to local people in Southern Alberta, you know, whether it's about crime or problems or just about the day-to-day stuff, often I can relate, you know, because I am an Alberta boy. I was in the oil patch. I did some farming with my parents. You know, I was in EMS and so on. So, yeah, so a lot of benefits there, and we talked about my career. I was in Brooks in 2017 to 2021, and an interesting point there, I left to pursue a promotion, and my family never did leave. My wife stayed here. I had a daughter in grade 10 at the time. I promised her she could finish school. My wife loved Brooks, and so I've had a residence and a family here the whole time. So when the opportunity came up for me to come back, it was pretty much a no-brainer. So, and I will say, when I was here in 2017, I very much enjoyed my time here. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll be coming back as the detachment commander. Not sure exactly when that's going to happen. I haven't been given any dates yet. I suspect within the next month or month and a half, but just kind of estimating that. And once I get here, I look forward to working with everybody. So very much looking forward to it.
Okay, well, congratulations on your new posting and welcome home.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, moved by Councillor Idris that the agenda be adopted. All those in favor? Okay, need a mover for this motion here, that the minutes from the regular council meeting held March 17th, 2025 be approved. Councillor Nesbitt, all those in favor? Okay, and we have a delegation in front of us here. From STARS, we have, I know Jackie Seeley, and you brought along Glenda Farden. Oh, yeah. He can do it while we get there, yeah. Welcome, Glenda.
Thank you very much. Very nice to see all of you again, as well as some familiar faces with Christopher. I've worked with you at many other municipalities that he's been the CAO, and as well over here. Some really familiar faces, long-term familiar faces. So my name is Glenda Farnden. I'm the Senior Municipal Relations Liaison for STARS. And Jackie?
Council, nice to see you again. Jackie Seeley, most of you know me. I live in Bassano, and as the Southern Alberta Development Officer, travel all over Southern Alberta. Nice to be back here.
Just want to make sure your mic's on there. Yeah, there we are.
All right, there we go. This year, STARS is celebrating our 40th anniversary of providing the highest level of critical care to the ill and injured. STARS is your best hope in a worst-case scenario. As a charitable organization, STARS continues to operate at no cost to the patient, thanks to our many donors. Just to report back to you, we did secure another 10-year service agreement with our largest donor, Alberta Health Services. So that is at the $15 million per year in block funding. And after that, in Alberta alone, we must fundraise 56% of our operating costs, of our direct costs. The STARS Lottery continues to be our largest fundraiser in Alberta, bringing in enough funds to pay for one base. This is our last fiscal year ending, and I just want to highlight a few things on this infographic for you. Along the second line there, previously we reported over 36,000 emergency requests through our Emergency Link Center in Calgary. That increased to over 37,000. Missions flown from across all of our 6 bases in Western Canada increased by over 500 more missions, making it 3,927. Then, as I mentioned, the base cost increased to $11.4 million. The types of missions that we fly for are on the right-hand side there. And first is vehicle incidents. After that, cardiac. The rest you can review at your leisure. So this map is of Alberta and northeastern BC that shows all of the different levels of support of municipalities. So it has grown over the last 18 years, I believe, the municipal initiative. So I just can't quite see some of that. We have added a number of new municipalities, and to speak more closely to you, I would highlight that Town of Taber and MD of Taber have joined, as well as a number of other municipalities across the south. And also not shown on this map is the County of Warner. So I'll just highlight the different levels of support that there are. So the gray area shows less than $2 per capita. The sea of navy blue shows $2 per capita, anywhere up to $90 per capita. The green area is our regional leaders. So these regional leaders are contributing at a much higher rate of support. And with that, they're also on a fixed rate of support, and a standing motion to create that sustainability for STARS. Some of them have been recognized with logo recognition on one or more of our helicopters. So when they reach 500,000, they have a logo unveiling on their helicopter. Closest to you right now would be Rocky View County. They'll have a second logo unveiling. The areas shown in A with a red border are our full regional partnerships. So we're continuing to work within these areas to bring on the towns and villages with the counties or MDs and the cities like you guys. And I have to give a shout out to the City of Brooks. We've been sharing it all over southern Alberta that the City of Brooks is the first city in southern Alberta to join the municipal initiative. So we're very proud of our partnership with you. The areas that are in white, yes, there's one change being made there with the County of Warner joining. So this is in recognition of STAR's 40th anniversary. We wanted to give you a little more history of the missions flown over the last 15 years. So this is any mission flown within the County of Newell, a total of 510 missions flown since 2010. And if you combine the Brooks Hospital interfacility transfers with Brooks scene calls, that makes up for, on average, 26 missions per year right around Brooks. And throughout the county, it's a total of 34 missions per year, including Brooks. This year already, in 2025, there have been 7 critical interfacility transfers from the Brooks Hospital to tertiary care. This is a quick recap of our postal code project. So this shows specifically County of Newell residents that have been flown since 2010. So by accessing patient postal code information only, we track data back to 2010. And so all of the communities are listed on the left-hand side. And more interestingly, on the right-hand side shows where the patient was located at the time they were flown by STARS. So all of those red dots show where they were located. 302 total residents flown, 211 of them are from Brooks. 223 patients picked up in Brooks, and 79 area residents were flown from 25 other locations across 3 provinces. So this is testament to the value of our partnership. Not only are you supporting residents within your area, you're supporting them wherever they may fly from across Western Canada, where our 6 bases are. Glenda.
So I wanted to bring you a little bit of an insight into a day in the life of STARS crew member. So as we average, on a normal average, 11 missions per day, this particular day shows 18 different dispatches. And of course you can see the STARS bases that are listed there that were dispatched, and the mission type, whether it was a critical interfacility transfer or a scene call. The description really doesn't capture all of the different critical nature of calls that our crews must respond to. So this is all in one day's time across all 6 bases. So you'll see like drowning, and number 3 was for a neonatal baby. And so in particular, we'll also be able to bring the specialty teams with us. So we brought the NICU specialty team with us, and that baby went by ground ambulance with the specialty team. Or number 6 was a rollover, but as we get more information through the Emergency Link Center to our transport physicians, we are a medically driven organization, so they are the ones that make the determinant for the best mode of transport, the best receiving hospital. So it was decided that after more patient information, it was not medically required, so that patient went by ground ambulance, and we were turned around to be ready for the next critical mission. So then number 7, workshop explosion. Again, the STARS transport physicians, it was determined that the best mode of transport was more likely fixed wing. And so then they turned us around, and that patient went by fixed wing. Number 10 out of Grand Prairie, the patient was transported. Our crews go on every mode of transport depending on what is needed and medically required for the patient and all critical patients. So regardless of the mode of transport, our crews may attend a critical patient on ground ambulance as well as fixed wing. So in this particular case, this particular patient could not fly, whether it was due to respiratory issues and air pressures, or it might have been a bariatric patient where we could not actually, put them into the helicopter and strap them in securely. So that patient went with our critical care team because he did require critical care, but we went by ground transport. So just gives you a really good idea of the day in the life of a STARS crew member. And of course, we have a brand new medication now for hemorrhage control. It's been more than 10 years that we are the leader in innovation as far as bringing on board universal blood. Previously, we always carried 2 units of universal blood. Now, in the last few years, we have seen so many severe trauma cases with possibility of patients bleeding out that we've increased that to 4 units of universal blood. Now, in addition, now that this has been passed for Alberta in the past year, we are also carrying fibrinogen, which is the hemorrhage control medication. So once we have the type of patient that has the risk of bleeding out, we can apply the first 2 units of universal blood and then apply the fibrinogen, which helps these types of patients to build blood clots, and then apply the second 2 units of blood while we're en route to tertiary care. So we're seeing significant advancement in the ability to provide success in these types of patients that would normally bleed out. We're very thrilled to have this opportunity. Now, as an enhancement, it's very important as well for the rural areas where we have a lot of long distance, to travel with a really severely critical patient. Next slide, please. And of course, after our 40-year history, we flew our longest mission in STARS history. This was for a hunter in the rugged mountains of northernmost BC. It happened at dusk. It happened on a river bank. STARS Grand Prairie was this patient, Doug McTavish, his only hope for survival. So with that, you can see that our Emergency Link Center, they mapped out and did the calls to set up every single area where we could stop to refuel. So from Grand Prairie to refuel to Fort Nelson, then to Chi House to search in the dark on the riverbank for this particular patient, find a place on the riverbank to land, and then stabilize this patient, then get him on board, fly to Watson Lake to refuel again, back to Fort Nelson for a top-up in order to make the long trek back to Grand Prairie, where our transport physicians also had fixed wing waiting right there, so he went directly from the helicopter to fixed wing and straight to the cardiac cath lab in Edmonton. A really wonderful, tearful reunion of his family and himself with the Grand Prairie crew. 1 life saved. More than 2,400 liters of fuel used, more than 1,700 kilometers flown. They said if you flew it in a straight line, it was flying from Calgary to Los Angeles. 8.2 total flight hours, but more importantly, 5.3 hours in the air managing a severely critical patient. 1 life saved. This really does speak to our mandate for providing critical care anywhere. And in closing, we just want to celebrate City of Brooks. We thank you for coming on board as a municipal partner. I'm not sure how many of you were at RMA when I had the opportunity to speak to all of the provinces in Alberta, but really did want to highlight the fact that we celebrate that you are the first city joining City of Grand Prairie now, as well as City of Wetaskiwin. You're the first in southern Alberta. We really do appreciate and commend you for joining the program that helps to save a life every day. There are significant benefits to your residents in the fact that STARS provides physical response with the helicopter, as well as critical care, virtual care for your local physicians and nurses. So this is still, again, even if the helicopter may not respond, maybe we're on another call, does not leave your medical teams defenseless when it comes to critical care. We can provide virtual care for medical and procedural guidance. So it's a huge advancement in the rural areas. So again, your residents have access to STARS 24/7 all across Western Canada, and more importantly, because of partnership, no cost to the patient who may be experiencing the worst day in their entire lives. So we thank you and commend you for your joining the municipal program. And with that, we would like to present you with a small token of our appreciation to show your residents that you are doing something very vital for their health and safety. So we would like to present you with this plaque to say, City of Brooks, thank you for your partnership with STARS and dedication to saving lives.
Well,
And
thank you very much.
We'd like to ask if there's an opportunity for a photo opportunity to acknowledge it, and
Sure.
so we can share on
Want
social
to come around this way
media.
with the all of
Absolutely.
council? Oh, wait, yeah, we can do the front, yeah. Everybody squeeze in. Squeeze in, yeah.
Take one more, I'm talking. Taking a bunch, just so I can get a good one. Everyone's eyes open? There we go.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We'll leave you guys with some calendars too.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you very much there. I just, great presentation there too, and I just want to say how valuable STARS is. I hope I never have to use it, but it's always nice to know that it's out there in case somebody has to use it, especially in this area here. Two things, we talk about oil and gas circumstances, or even agriculture too, and our rural roads. You never know, what happens out there. So there's a certain amount of security we have knowing that STARS is around. So thank you very much for your work with that there too. Okay, we'll go Councillor Goodenough.
Sorry, I just wanted to go back to your slide with the 5-year stats on that. We have Bazzano, Brooks, Dutchess, Patricia. I was just curious, on the second part of it, accidents and illnesses happen anywhere. We're at 223. That's not, it seems like, is that a 5? Yes, yeah, the one over next, yeah, just that page, but on the bottom part, you're on the right page, yeah. 223 on the bottom there. Everyone else is pretty flatlined at 1. That's not, is that, yeah.
This represents count by pickup location. So how many residents of these 302 were picked up at these different locations? So 223 were picked up in Brooks.
Sorry, so I guess my question is that a normal number? That just seems so high versus other parts of the province.
There's two different things to look at here. Just maybe I can explain again. When we're talking about this page, this indicates all STARS missions flown within Newell County boundaries. Okay, so landings that actually happened within your boundaries does not necessarily mean it's all your residents. It might be some of your neighbors that are passing through. This page indicates only residents that possess a postal code of one of these communities. So in total, since 2010, there was 302 total area residents Now, this shows you where these 302 people were. So out of the 302, 223 were at home and were picked up at Brooks, where all the other 79 area residents were picked up in all these other 25 locations. Like the next number, I'm sorry, I can't read that, I've got old eyes. 50 of them were picked up in Bazzano. And then one were picked up 3, 2, 2, 2, 1 in all these other locations. Does that clarify?
I believe so. So just for clarification, and that those are Brooks residents, or that would be, even though it's all over Alberta and a little bit into Saskatchewan there, and that was over 10 years? Sorry?
Yes.
Okay.
So, since 2010, so.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, more than 10. Okay.
So when you see these listings here to total 302, 211 were Brooks, you know, and all these other numbers indicate what residents they were. But these are the areas that they had traveled across more than 3 provinces when they needed to be flown by STARS.
So my comment is thank you for looking after Brooks, and that's an astounding number. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Jessica?
I just was looking at the map of all your partners, and there's a pretty big block of 3 MDs or counties down in the southeast corner that aren't participating. And I'm just wondering, what are they doing as an alternative to such a valuable service?
Okay. Well, we did, originally, there was the 3 counties there. We did make presentations to each of their councils last year. And Warner did come on board. So they have now changed on the map since I had to submit this for you. So they are now in the gray area as well. You'll see the one little dot, though, that represents Village of Sterling, who has been on board for several years, although the County of Warner at the time was not. We have made requests to the other 2, so we have not finalized that particular, as well as Yellowhead County here. I'm going to be, after RMA, they are asking that when was I going to come back and make another update for them, so I will be going back in the next month or 2. The 2 navy blue exclamation marks do represent towns of Hinton and Edson that have been 18-year supporters of STARS, even though the county was not. And then the little gray exclamation mark down here represents the municipality town of Drumheller. So overall, we are now at one of the other central Alberta ones has now increased their support to $2 per capita, so they are now a regional leader as well. So basically, we are at 95% of all of rural Alberta, and about 80% now are regional leaders, meaning that they are at a minimum $2 or higher.
Yeah, would Halo not respond to the ones that are down in the southeast, and how are you connected to Halo?
No, we're both separate entities.
Yeah,
So,
but it might
but we-
answer Councillor Jessica's thing about down in the southeast, because I think Halo would look after a lot of that area down there, right?
Halo does. They are co-located there
Yeah.
out of Medicine Hat.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we do serve Medicine Hat
Yeah.
Hospital for all critical transfers as well. So we
Right, yeah.
both
Yeah.
serve the same area.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, well, thank you again for your time.
Thank
Yeah,
you
and
very
your
much for being
presentation,
a
yeah.
partner with STARS.
Yeah. Okay, moved by Councillor Jessica that the STARS presentation be accepted as information. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we need a mover for this motion that the following items of correspondence be received as information, updates on council conferences and workshops, and notes on council committee, March 11th and 25th, 2025. Need a mover for that motion. Councillor Goodenough. And we'll start off with Councillor Jessica. You have a couple reports to give.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, so I had the good fortune to attend the RMA conference, the spring RMA conference in Edmonton with our neighbors from the county. And so, you know, maintaining the relationship and seeing just what's going on in the rural world. So I'll just give a bit of a summary on that, and then I have distributed a list of the questions that were put forward to the ministers at that meeting. But there were 15 resolutions submitted by members, and 60% of them were adopted. So our 60% vote is required for adoption, and 5 of them actually failed to pass, which was 1/3. So that's fairly substantial. But majority of resolutions were related to rural issues and not really relevant to the city of Brooks. Things that were a little bit more relevant to ourselves were seeking an increase in water and wastewater funding, provincial assistance for fire apparatus replacement, and enabling service of notices for bylaws by ordinary mail rather than requiring a courier service. The one presentation I attended was Strengthen Your Rural Municipal Plans, coming from Lacombe County, and it looked into the benefits of an annual review process of municipal development plan and land use bylaws. So rather than periodically, say every 5 years, reviewing the MDPs and the municipal bylaws, they do it on an ongoing basis. And they've won a number of awards for this, and actually it looked like it was working really well. It it shows a commitment of accountability, transparency, and self-improvement in governance. It increases council's understanding of the role in plan making. There's a lot of positive to the concept. And there's also challenges like lack of money and resources, lackluster public attendance, which is a challenge for all of us for almost everything, and engagement fatigue. But the old method was you have an open house, you serve coffee and donuts, do a presentation and a Q&A session, and try to deal with it that way. And they were thinking more outside of the box, and this all began about 2017. So they used some revitalized engagement tools. So they went out to create interest in the younger crowd. So they had presentations and workshops in elementary school where they had the students working as planners. And then they encouraged them to take this back to their families, to get the parents involved. And they, rather than coffee and donuts, when they actually had a community workshop on this process, they provided participants with a full dinner, saying, you're being asked to give up time to help us, and we think that your time has value, and this I would like to thank you. So I had live digital voting during the session. So when they were discussing the issue and it came up for discussion and then feedback, they were able to show them immediately how the attendees felt about the whole thing, and it helped them moving forward with their process and other issues. So, but they also did community surveys and project branding, and looked really good. They said mission accomplished, it's award-winning initiative. And go on how do you now you got momentum, how do you maintain it and interest? And they have an annual review. And as an example, they talked about their bylaw on minimum residential parcel size. And it was originally maximum 2 dwellings on 80 acres, which, probably is what sounds like what might be needed. But after instituting that in a period of time and some discussion, they cut that back to 2 dwellings on 40 acres. And gave that time to be working through the system and see how people responded. And finally, they reduced it to 10 acres for 2 dwellings. So it's a living process. So it was actually quite interesting. And a good conference in general. The other thing that I participated in was the Alberta Incident Management System Workshop at the Fire Hall. And kudos to Kevin and his team for putting that together. So the Alberta Incident Management System is a new mandated provincial emergency response command and control system. And it's being done because the older system was not up to dealing with the increasing number and the scale of disasters that emergency services are being required to deal with. And things like wildfires, floods, extreme weather, and even cases of social upheaval. So all local municipalities are working to develop a regional system. And this is a new initiative for Brooks. And the purpose is a more effective coordination and response in the event of an emergency situation. So it's formalized. The extent of the response will depend on the nature and severity of the emergency and the resources available. It's not one size fits all. The emergency response is directed by an ICP, Incident Command Post, providing the direct or the tactical level reaction. And then the next level is the ECC, Emergency Coordination Center, which is responsible for broader organizational activities, so it's more strategic. And depending on the situation, it may be only in the size of the emergency, only one of these may be required, and the severity of the emergency. So the Alberta Incident Management System is also flexible. For example, in the case of an active shooter, the RCMP would be the ICP. Or if there's a weather threat, Environment Canada would act as ICP until the threat dissipates or there's an actual impact, at which point local authorities would take over. And if anybody has any really hard questions, I see Kevin in the corner, so he would be the person to talk to.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Jessica. Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried.
Good report, Ray.
Okay, need a mover for the motion here that council proclaim April 25th, 2025 as Lights On After School Alberta Day in the City of Brooks, and that City Hall be lit up in blue to celebrate the day. Mover for that motion, Councillor Woodrow. CEO Parker.
Yeah, thank you very much, Your Worship and Council. As you see before you with the report, it's the organization asked us if we could do yellow and blue. We cannot do yellow and blue. We can only do blue. But we went back to them and we said, is blue fine? And they were fully satisfied with that. So if council's happy, then we would light up the various areas in blue.
Okay. Any questions? To the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, I'll go ahead, Councillor Jessica there, if you want to, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so depending on which agenda you look at, it could be 7C or 7B. There's a discrepancy between the one that we online and this one, but
I got 7C.
yeah, on this next item, the spray park, I would like to move that be deferred to the next council meeting, allowing for time to get some details on our financial position and the impacts of this project and other projects like that. We were hoping to have that information before this, but due to circumstances beyond our control, that didn't happen. So I think that it's an important enough issue that we can hold off for a couple more weeks.
Okay, so the motion is to defer it to the next council meeting. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, okay. So it's deferred then. Okay, need a mover for this motion here that council approve the proceedings with the full unit replacement at a cost of $40,267, and that the full unit replacement and any unexpected tariffs be funded from the current operational efficiencies and reserves. Mover for the motion, Councillor Idris. Okay, CEO Parker.
Thank you very much, Your Worship and Council. You have before you the issue that the basically the impeller has broken at the wave pool. The unit is about 21 years old. We've already replaced the impeller once. The cost is approximately, just to replace the repeller, is approximately $20,000. To replace the entire unit is about $40,000. It's recommended that we replace the whole unit. We replaced the last impeller in 2017. We have to have it custom made. That's the problem. It's so old of a unit. So with that, the recommendation from administration is basically replace the whole unit.
Okay, any questions? How long do you said 2017, they last about 8 years then?
Well, that's just the propeller.
Just the propeller?
The unit itself is 21 years
Oh,
old.
the unit itself
Yeah.
is 20 years.
And so the first one lasted, what, 16 years or so?
Yeah.
And, then it had to be rebuilt. And then that's the problem. You're always getting, a different unit each time.
Yeah.
So you might get one that's at 20,000. You might get one that's 28. It might last 8 years, might last 12 years. You just don't know. But the problem is the main unit itself has seen significant wear and tear.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Goodenough.
Yeah, still good enough.
Yeah.
Is there a warranty package on this? What does that look like?
It's usually, I'm not sure what this one would be, but usually it's about 5 years.
Okay. And then, so the recommendation then is for the $40,200
Yeah,
Okay.
up to. And there might be some issues specifically with the new tariffs that are
Tariffs.
coming in, so it might be a little bit higher than that. But that's why the motion's written the way that it is, because if there is a few extra dollars, we'll have to pay it. It just depends, you know, it is a Canadian company, but they might have to get the parts from the States. Sometimes that's what happens.
And then, and then this gets funded from
We're
current
going to look at two areas. We're going to look at some operational efficiencies in the rec area, and then that specifically will come out of a reserve fund. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Idris?
But the motion is written very specific. It's not like it's not as you suggested, the idea that it could go more.
It could possibly go a little more, yeah.
But the motion is not written like that.
Actually, it does, I believe the motion does say, it says, if, and that's why it gives us a little bit, replace at 40,000 and that the full replacement and any unexpected tariffs.
Oh, that
Yeah.
means I have a different.
Oh, okay. You might
I have a different document here.
Okay, so yeah,
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
that's why we put that unexpected
Yeah.
tariffs in there
Okay, yeah.
specifically.
Okay, are we good then? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, need a mover for this motion here. The council approved the City of Brooks becoming a member of the Newell Regional Emergency Partnership as well as an active partner within the Newell Regional Emergency Management Plan. Councillor Nesbitt. Okay, Fire Chief Swanson, welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship, and to all of council. Recently, administration and the city's fire chief were asked to consider joining the Newell Regional Emergency Management Plan as an active partner, which is an all hazards framework designed to develop, maintain, and allocate properly trained resources for emergencies, covering aspects such as prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. Currently, this plan is part of the Newell Regional Emergency Partnership, which includes the County of Newell, the Town of Bazzano, the Village of Dutchess, and the Village of Rosemary. The Newell Emergency Response Partnership establishes a continuous improvement process to develop, implement, maintain, and evaluate emergency management efforts. Created by a ministerial order, the Newell Regional Emergency Partnership is the first and only partnership of its kind in the province with such an order for emergency preparedness. City Council provided a letter to the County of Newell stating interest in becoming a member of the Newell Regional Emergency Partnership, as well as becoming an active member within the Newell Regional Emergency Management Plan. As a result, the city's deputy mayor, CAO, and fire chief attended a Regional Emergency Advisory Committee meeting on April 1st that outlined the benefits of working together through large-scale incidents while utilizing the Newell Regional Emergency Management Plan as a team of municipalities. The desired outcome is a continuation of a long-term, well-established working relationship with all of the city's urban and rural municipal partners. In the Newell Regional Emergency Management Plan, preparedness, planning, and response readiness presents a framework effective for response to natural, man-made, and technological hazards that may affect all municipalities, including the City of Brooks. Given the opportunity to partner with the Newell Regional Emergency Management Plan, allows local authorities to quickly pool their available resources for emergency management purposes, have a single director of emergency management acting within his or her designated authorities for a region, authorize one or more committee members to declare a state of local emergency on behalf of all the member local authorities that are affected by a disaster, and if needed, a single declaration, and build capacity to respond to disasters that extend beyond 72 hours, ensuring that we have the necessary personnel in place to provide support for an extended period of time until outside agencies can assist and supplement our team. If the regional partners approve our request, our municipal partners will submit a formal request to have us added to the existing ministerial order that establishes the Newell Regional Emergency Partnership. As per April 1st Emergency Management Advisory Committee meeting, it is anticipated that there will be no significant financial impact on the city. In the event of a disaster occurring, significant benefits are realized by having the local emergency partners and their resources directly involved in helping to manage the response on a regional basis. There is no link to Council's strategic focus areas. Administration recommends that Council approve the City of Brooks becoming a member of the Newell Regional Emergency Partnership, as well as an active partner within the Newell Regional Emergency Management Plan. If there's any questions, I'd be pleased to answer them.
This looks like it just formalizes everything, because we've always had a good relationship, within the Brooks-Newell region, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Councillor Idris?
So, hearing that this is the first of its kind provincially through a ministerial order, is this something new? Is that the province is asking people to do, or how did this come up to become that ministerial order?
Councillor Idris, I'm glad that you brought that up. The ministerial order is very keen. There's lots of regional partners in the province of Alberta, but everybody says we want to look after our own self. And a ministerial order, as in this case here, says we trust each other's partners so that if something really is bad happening to Bizano, as an example, somebody else can hop in and take control without having them do it themselves. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, and that's part of it. It also means, like, on the committee itself, there will be one extra committee that some council members will have to attend, one member. And what would happen is when they're on this committee, they themselves can actually, if there was a disaster in Bizano, they can actually declare a state of local emergency in that case. Just, and they'll be well trained and everything like that. So the whole idea is there'll be a lot more training than what we're doing right now, but unified training. And that's the key, because what happens when you look at a disaster, you usually have to go a minimum of 72 hours. And this will build that capacity by taking a couple of people from Pisano, some people from Dutchess, also from the county, and we're all working together, and we can just make it through that first 72 hours. And then usually what we'll have is, by that time, you have the province and some of the other areas. Now, they have something very similar up at Grand Prairie, GPREP, but it's not by ministerial order. They just have a tendency to work together and then pool the resources. This kind of like says, we're pooling our resources guaranteed now in the whole area.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, to the motion. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Need a mover for this motion that bylaw number 2427 be amended to change the designation from school reserve to municipal and school reserve. Mover for that motion?
I actually move, I move to defer this bylaw 2427. And if I'd speak to that, please, to my motion, please. So there are.
Just wait, we have to vote on, don't we have to vote on her if we defer the motion?
She can actually say something.
But before we vote on it?
Yes.
Councillor Jessica just did so for the, right?
Okay, no, just want to make sure, yeah.
No, absolutely,
Okay,
thank
go
you.
ahead, yeah.
Okay, so there are two lots that have been brought to council's attention. Actually, there's four, but there are two that are close to the college that would be more, or that may be more appropriate for a high school, especially like the proximity to the college. It's fully serviced land. It's all municipal owned. I would like to defer this so that we could meet with, or administration could meet with Christ the Redeemer to bring these two lots and locations to their attention before we completely go through with dedicating the old rodeo grounds as municipal school reserve or school reserve. Yeah, it was discussed, and this was in good faith with Christ the Redeemer, that should another location become available, that Christ the Redeemer would consider moving the location, as the urgency of the issue was actually just needing the lands first in order to secure the funding. And so now that this funding, fortunately, the funding for the school has been secured, and now we have additional locations and lots for this potential school to be built. I believe it's appropriate now to consider those now and have a conversation. You know, lots of the conversations during the public hearing and in council were very focused on the urgency of just securing the funding. And there was an acknowledgement in general that the location, though not ideal, we could deal with because the funding was there. Well, now the funding is here. Now we have other lots to consider. I believe they are more appropriate. So I move to defer bylaw 2427 to the next regular council meeting.
Okay, we'll vote on that there. We can vote on that, right? All those in favor of deferring it? Opposed? Okay. Okay, we need a mover for a motion here that bylaw 2427 be amended to change the designation from school reserve to municipal and school reserve. A mover for that motion, Councillor Jessica. Okay, Planner Gavin.
Through the Chair to Mayor and Council, at the July 2nd, 2024 Council meeting, Resolution 24-261 was carried to dedicate the City of Brooks Old Rodeo Grounds as school and municipal reserve for Christ the Redeemer Catholic School Division. This dedication requires the passing of a bylaw in accordance with the MGA Section 665. Further to this dedication as reserve, the parcel must be free of all encumbrances under the Land Titles Act. Section 665(3), except those listed in LTO Procedures Sur-2, Item C, which are okay to be left untitled. The city solicitor has proceeded with the removal of several items to clear this title. To implement school reserve dedication, bylaw 2427 has been introduced and second reading was passed. Third reading remains outstanding, as discussion was held with council on March 11th, 2025 regarding an SR versus MSR designation and the long-term benefits of each. The dedication as school reserve has in Alberta law no direct protection for the school board selling the land to a third party when it no longer needs a particular school reserve site. To have the land transferred to the municipal corporation, it can be agreed upon, and that would be through the joint use planning agreement. And MSR designation allows the municipality greater control over the long-term use of the parcel. The result of this discussion was direction given to staff to amend bylaw 2427 to reflect a designation of MSR prior to giving third reading. Currently, reserve lands have under the Act been split into three categories where schools are concerned. These categories are municipal reserve, school reserve, and the combination municipal and school reserve. Over the years, many methods have been utilized to dedicate school sites in Brooks, including reserve under the former Act, which is equivalent to municipal reserve under the MGA. Moving forward, council can choose which category they would like to use, and we have options for you this evening. Option 1, categorize the land as school reserve by giving third reading to bylaw 2427. Option 2, amend bylaw 2427 to change the reserve designation from SR to MSR and provide third reading. Financial implications this evening are that there are none. Strategic plan-wise, this does align with your focus on future developments. And finally, the recommendation this evening is that bylaw 2427 be amended to change the reserve designation from SR to MSR, and that third reading be given.
Okay, any questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, need a mover for this motion here that bylaw 2427, being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta for the purpose of designating a parcel of land as municipal and school reserve, be read a third time and adopted as amended. Mover for that motion, Councillor Goodenough. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay. You need a mover for this motion here that bylaw 2510 be read a second time. This is the Business Improvement Area Tax Bylaw. Mover for that motion, Councillor Nesbitt. Okay, Finance, McKinnon.
Through your worship, at its meeting held on March 17th, first reading was given to this bylaw. The council was advised that the bylaw would be circulated to all the businesses within the business improvement area. That's been done. The notice was sent out in terms of any concerns individual business wished to express. There were none received by administration, and all members were provided a copy of the budget. So this could proceed to second and third reading and adoption to allow the business improvement area to implement their improvements within their business area.
Okay, any questions? Just, is this the same as it was last year? I was trying to look if it was.
Yeah, the
tax.
aggregate budget is the same amount, yes.
This is the same amount, okay. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, and need a mover for this motion that bylaw 2510, being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta, to set a rate for the Business Improvement Area Tax on businesses located in the Brookstown Centre Revitalization Zone, be read a third time and adopted. Mover for that motion, Councillor Jessica. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, this is bylaw 2511, the amendment to land use bylaw 1412. We need a mover for this motion here that bylaw 2511, being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta, to amend bylaw 1412, being the land use bylaw, be introduced and read a first time. Mover for that motion, Councillor Idris. Okay. Planner Scott.
Through the Chair to Mayor and Council, bylaw 2511 proposes to redesignate a portion of the northeast of 33, Township 18, Range 14, west of the 4th, from public recreation to open space to commercial general. As per the requirements of the Municipal Government Act, a public hearing must be held prior to Council's decision on a bylaw to rezone. This parcel, this 0.77 acre parcel is publicly designated property, and it is made up of two titles, and it sits east of College Drive on the southeast side of Castles Place East. It was declared surplus by the city as city land by council at the March 17th meeting. Castles Place East is commercially oriented in its area development. The lot is located within the Southeast Sector Area Structure Plan. The land is identified on map 3, and the proposed land use concept is for highway commercial at this location. This designation is therefore in alignment with the area structure plan. The decision on the proposed zoning should be evaluated based on the suitability of the land for commercial purposes. There are no financial implications to the city. The strategic plan does meet up with your focus on economic growth, investment attraction, as well as future developments. Recommendation this evening is for first reading to be passed on bylaw 2511 and setting the public hearing date to May 5th, 2025.
Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, need a mover for this motion that a public hearing be held on May 5th, 2025 at 5 p.m. to gather public input regarding bylaw 2511. Mover for that motion, Councillor Jessica. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, bylaw 2512, 2512, the repaving tax. Director of Finance, Bill McKinnon, need a mover for the first motion here, that bylaw 2512 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to impose a special tax for the repaving of streets and lanes be introduced and read a first time. Mover for that motion, Councillor Idris. Okay, Director of Finance, McKinnon.
Again, through the chair, council will recall during the 2025 budget deliberations, this item was adopted in the budget. The bylaw is required to give effect for the taxation of that funding mechanism. Annually, at least in 2024 and in 2025, council has approved $2 million for the repaving program. Its funding sources are $1.2 million through the repaving tax bylaw and $800,000 through the old MSI program. So that's the funding source. The aggregate amount that will be levied is similar, exactly the same as last year. There may be a couple little changes in distribution because of frontages and flankages changes, but the overall levy in terms of the bylaw is consistent at $1.2 million. That concludes. If there's any questions, be pleased to entertain them.
Okay, we'll go to the second reading here. Okay, moved by Councillor Nesbitt, that bylaw 2512 be read a second time. Okay. What's that? Do we, right, vote on the first reading, yeah, first of all, yeah. Everybody in favor of the first reading? Okay, and then moved by Councillor Nesbitt, number 2512 be read a second time. Okay, any questions on this then? Okay, this is normally what we do, and we always kind of do it at this time of the year, and this is part of our property taxes on that, so. Okay, Councillor Goodenough.
Is there an estimate of what you feel the provincial grant funding, the MSI, like how much will be allocated? Would it be all, partial?
In terms of, again, through the chair, in terms of the MSI program, which is now the local government fiscal framework, yes, that amount has been determined and released. So this is just a partial allocation of it. I'll stand corrected, but I believe that allocation is roughly $2.7 million this year. So this is just a partial allocation of that total envelope.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. Okay, second reading on the table here. All those in favor? Okay. Need a mover for the motion that bylaw 2512 be given 3 readings at this meeting. Mover for that motion, Councillor Idris. All those in favor, has to be unanimous. It is. Bill said yes. Okay. Carried. Need a mover for the motion that bylaw 2512 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to impose a special tax for the repaving of streets and lanes be read a third time and adopted. Mover for that motion, Councillor Goodenough. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, the amendment to the surface irrigation rates bylaw. Mover for this motion here, that the bylaw 2513 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta to amend bylaw number 1607 being a bylaw to provide for surface irrigation service rates be introduced and read a first time. Moved by Councillor Nesbitt. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Need a mover for the motion that bylaw 2513 be read a second time. Mover for that motion, Councillor Jessica. Okay, any questions on this one? Councillor McKinnon, or not Councillor McKinnon, not yet. Director McKinnon.
Again, through the chair, this item was, the budget related to this item was presented during the 2025 budget deliberations. Council reviewed and adopted the budget. This is to give effect to levy the necessary funds to fund the expenditure program that has been approved. Overall, it's a 2% increase in the rates compared to last year. Going back to my last point on the MSI, the correct number is not 2.7 million, it's 2.1 million. Sorry for that slippage.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, need a mover for the motion that bylaw 2513 be given 3 readings at this meeting. Mover for that motion. Counselor Nesbitt. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved. I need a mover for this motion that bylaw 2513, being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta, to amend bylaw 1607, being a bylaw to provide for surface irrigation service rates, be read a third time and adopted. Mover for that motion. Councillor Wardrop. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now the 2025 property tax bylaw. Need a mover for the motion that bylaw 2514, being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta, to set a rate for the levy on the assessment value of property subject to taxation for the year 2025, be introduced and read a first time. Mover for that motion, Councillor Juska. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, need a mover for the motion that bylaw 2514 be read second time. Mover for that motion, Councillor Nesbitt. Okay, Finance Director McKinnon.
Again, through your worship, I'm going to go a bit slower on this one because there's a bunch of subtleties in here, and some of the subtleties are relating to external sources which council has no control over, specifically the impact of provincial funding related to school boards and housing related to New Well Housing Authority. So there's the reports in 3 sections. The first section deals with the impact on the tax rate related to town city operations. The second, the impact related to the imposition of property tax collections related to school boards. And then the third component dealing with the housing authority. When council deals with the budget deliberations, it's looking at the revenues and expenditures related to the budget. That's the first step of the process. The second step of the process is to set the tax rate. The tax rate cannot be set until the assessor renews the assessments for the year. So when we do the budget, we make some assumptions about where the assessment's going to land. The assumption made in the budget deliberations was that there would be minimal, if any, change in the overall assessment rolls. That resulted in administration recommending to council the tax rate would be coming in roughly at 5.75% during the budget deliberations. The good news is we have the return, what's called the return assessment rolls now. The return assessment roll comes back in 2 components. One's here's real growth, i.e. new properties, new business, new housing that's coming on the rolls for the first time. The good news there was a modest increase in real growth in the assessment roll. So that will mitigate everyone's taxes down from that proposed 5.75% that we started and we council discussed during the budget deliberations. So the good news is the city tax rate is going to come in below that 5.75, which was predicated during budget deliberations. The difficulty residents have is they will get an assessment notice saying on average their properties are going up 7.6%. So there's a thing where everyone's properties are reassessed, and if the market value of properties go up, your assessment goes up. But what you'll see in this report is that means we don't need a 7.6% increase in the taxes, so our tax rate is actually dropping. So assessments have gone up, and the tax rate has to drop because we don't need all that revenue, and it has to be balanced out. So whatever the budget is, that's basically driving the calculation. So you can see there's some verbiage there saying our assessment base went up from 1.8 billion, from 1.8 billion roughly to just under 2 billion, which is good news. It was an increase of $135 million of assessment, but predominantly it was changes in market value. And that basically, if all things are equal, means it's just a redistribution of who's paying what share of the total tax bill. When we have real growth in the assessment roll, which we will likely see in 226 and 227 as completion of building that's currently active in the city, those will be coming on the assessment roll, and that will create new growth money, if you want to look at it that way. So in future years, we'll be better off than we are in this current year. That being said, the bad news is, so there is a chart that basically says, if you look at the mill rate, our mill rate's going down. And that's because the assessments are going up, mainly driven by inflationary pressures. So property values are up, that's good. But just because property values are up doesn't mean we're going to collect more taxes. We have to adjust tax rate to take into account those inflationary changes in property values. So that being said, on the second page of the report, it basically says, look at a house that was assessed at $300,000 last year is going to be assessed at roughly $326,000 this year. So to make apples to apples comparison, that's why I'm showing 224 assessment, 225 assessment. So in essence, it's the same property, and then we apply the tax rates, and you can see the city's total tax bill related to city operations would be up $142 for the year, or roughly 5.6%, which is lower than the 5.75%, which isn't good news, but relative to other municipalities, it is a reasonable increase. Most municipalities in surrounding Brooks and elsewhere in southern Alberta are seeing tax rate increases above that number. During the budget deliberations, there was a chart also that was provided that compared Brooks to other municipalities, roughly 25 other neighboring municipalities or similar municipalities. And Brooks, again, in terms of its aggregate tax rate increase, was significantly below averages in other communities. So that's an important point to make. Again, the major reasons why the budget's going up to $142 were outlined and discussed extensively during the 4 days, roughly 4 days of budget deliberations. And the big increases are utility increase, insurance cost, mainly related to natural events happening, the funding of infrastructure. So yes, there's a tax increase, but part of that is going to be reinvested in local infrastructure, the road networks, the recreation facilities, water and sewer, and the like. And then inflationary costs. A major increase was because of policing cost. That represents more than half of the budgetary increase overall. So that's the city's tax rate. The bad news is, as council's aware, we also have to collect taxes for two other requisition agencies. One is the provincial government, which we have to collect school taxes for them. And that shows up on the tax bill, but council has no say. We have to levy these taxes on behalf of the province, and the residents blame city council for that increase. Believe it or not, our increase in 225 will be a whopping 9.4%. So the provincial government is shifting more money to be collected through municipalities to fund school boards in the province. 9.4 may sound like a significant increase compared to other communities such as Chestermere that's seeing a 24% increase in their education cost, or the city of Calgary seeing a 29% increase in their educational cost. 9% is basically pretty well the lowest increase that municipalities are seeing across the province. So if you want to call that good news, that's the good news. But because of that, the requisition related, again, on that typical hypothetical $300,000 home, the typical homeowner will see a 9.4% increase on the school board taxes, which would result in a $71 increase in the levy for education requisitions. In terms of the housing requisitions, it's a mixed bag there. New Well Housing Foundation, historically, the levy this year is at its historical levels. However, the last few years have been challenging for everyone, but more so for the housing sector. Because of COVID specifically, they've lost all COVID funding. At the same time, they're trying to rebuild their occupancy rates in their homes, and they've been running a deficit for the last 2 or 3 years. So this is a catch-up year for them. It is a significant increase on the percentage terms. Dollar-wise, the typical homeowner in Brooks will see a $37 increase, but percentage-wise, it looks whopping. But again, it's an overall to support housing in the community at $67 on your typical household. I never put it all together, but if you put it all together with the city's tax rate increase coming in at the lowest of roughly 5.6%, the school board's coming in at 9.4%, and the housing coming in roughly at 123%. The overall increase is roughly 7.5%. However, the city's portion, again, is way below that overall increase, but just be prepared, ratepayers, the bill's coming from the city, and council and administration will get blamed for all three components when council only controls one of those components. So that concludes my presentation. Be prepared to answer questions council may have.
I was going to ask you about assessments there, and I know, just maybe help me understand, it looks like the assessments have gone up 8%. Now, would that be community-wide, for example, or is that just sort of a common assessment throughout the community? For example, did they go up 8% in Uplands? Did they also go up 8% in Sunny Lee? Did they go up 8% in Greenbrook? Or is that just sort of a general?
That is a general consensus number. What I would say, and if council wishes, I can come back with more detailed on the assessment shifts, but 95% of the homes within Brooks, regardless of where they are, will be within 5%. 5%. So if the average went up 7%, 95% of the homes will have a variance of 5% within. So we're talking, 5% of 7% is 0.3%. So between 9% and 7%. So some will come in lower, some will come in higher, but 95 will come in roughly between that 7 and 9%.
Yeah.
And the average being roughly 8%.
And that's my point, is it varies where you live in the community on the
Some
assessment.
residents, just to give you an indication, some residents may say, well, my assessment went up 20%, but they may have forgot they put on an addition, they did renovations, so there's been a change in the valuation of their property because of enhancements. So those are also caught into the equation. Likewise, there'll be new properties coming on that their assessment's up significantly because they weren't assessed in 224.
Yeah.
So it's a mixed bag, but the distribution within Brooks is fairly consistent with not too many outliers, per se.
Okay. Any other questions, Councillor Idris?
Question comes to mind. Don't know if we can get a good answer on it, but how much of that increase in assessment is coming from new build?
Again, 0.5% of the total assessment increase is because of new builds. So that's what we call the growth component. Yeah. So growth is 0.5% of that overall assessment change.
So out of the 8%, 1.5% out of that would be new growth.
Okay.
New houses and new commercial properties.
Yeah, so of the total assessment change of 7.6%, new stuff represented 0.5%. So inflationary, i.e. the market went up because real estate's up across the board, whether it's housing or commercial or whatever, it was up 7.1%. So that inflationary number just means the distribution of who's paying what share may be shifting, but it doesn't mean we're getting more money. That 0.5% is real growth. So that's sort of new money coming into the stream that, as you've seen during the budget deliberations, I said, well, based on the budget you're adopting, the tax rate increase is going to be 5.75. Well, it's been mitigated down slightly because of the growth in new assessment.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Goodenough.
Curious on the education requisitions side of things. Obviously, the math comes from the Alberta government on how they're based in their community, but you also stated that like Chestermere's went up significant. How did we only come at a 9.1? Is that possible for you to explain that, or?
It definitely is, Counselor.
Okay.
So, again, when you look at the growth that other communities may have, they may have had higher real growth in their assessment. So if you have more real growth, they're proportionally picking up a bigger portion of the education tax. So what you see is the high growth communities that had higher growth will have education requisitions significantly higher than Brooks.
So my follow-up to that, then we wouldn't say that our increase of 9.1 isn't based on the fact that we're building a new junior high or a potentially new Catholic school down the road here. It's just because of growth in our community. And my comment would be also that that's a small price to pay for new schools. So
Yeah,
even though it is an increase.
And it's spread around the province too. Yeah, right across the province on that, yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, no other questions. Okay. Did you have another one? Council good enough.
Sorry, now just on the housing requisition for Newell Housing Foundation. When they sent in the letter, the request has more than doubled. Can we argue that? Like, I think Newell Foundation works for us in a sense, or is under us.
So what's your question?
Well, my question is, do we have to? Like,
Yes.
they're requesting an increase. Do we have to say, yeah, you can have it?
Theoretically, no, but it is a small amount, and it looks after, just so, it looks after mostly our seniors' housing in Brooks would be Newbrook Lodge, the Pioneer Villas, and the villas in Bizano, Rosemary, Dutchess, and we collectively all together, you know, us and the county of Newell and all those municipalities contribute in that to make it affordable for seniors to live in those places there too.
So is it fair though? What we're like to what we pay, to what Bizano pays to look after their residents, or Rosemary to where those homes are? Is it, or are we the main contributors to that?
No, actually the county of Newell, because the county of Newell would be a bigger contributor because of their assessment on industrial. We're actually a smaller contributor. Go ahead, Councillor Wardrop.
So
Maybe just to
if I
add-
could, just one clarification. There's 2 requisitions that are mandatory. Once those requisitions are received by the council cannot.
Yeah, okay, good. Thanks for clarifying that.
They
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
cannot, you can argue them, but you have to levy them. So the school requisition, the housing requisitions, once they're adopted by those, in the case of Newell Housing Foundation, once that board approves it, a letter sent out, and that requisition has to be collected by their members, similar with education.
Good. Okay, thank you for the clarification. Councillor Wardrop.
Just to speak to the sticker shock of the 123.3% increase, and Mayor Petrie can correct me on the fine details if I
Which
make
one are
a-
you asking about?
Just to speak again to the I said the sticker shock of the large increase. Since COVID, so since 2020, I believe the requisitions have been not
Flat.
increased, right?
Zero.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've been
yeah.
zero. So this is just a result of just not kind of keeping up with basic inflationary costs and just keeping those requisitions really low and stable. And so now just in order to keep the service levels where they need to be, this is kind of where we're at. Yeah.
Yeah, and just, because the Newell Foundation got COVID funding for about 3 or 4 years, and that kind of offset the need for a requisition increase. Council good enough?
I would say it is a sticker shock to more than double in 1 year. And I'm really surprised that would come through. I would think that we would implement it over time, but that is quite the sticker shock, like you said.
Councillor Wardrop.
Yeah, and the intention, like Mayor Petrie said, was, with the COVID funding, that was a way to kind of help out the municipalities. They didn't have to chip in as much. So as, costs were tighter for us as well. It's, trying to consider keeping things most affordable as possible. It's unfortunate that, it all comes in at once, but I agree with you. I think hopefully moving forward, we'll just kind of keep those requisitions kind of to keep pace with other
Just-
inflationary costs, so there's no.
Yeah, I know it looks, 123% increase looks bad, but, the amount on your tax bill is a very small percentage. But I mean, I know every dollar counts, whatever, yeah, so, yeah, anyway. But in the end, maybe a lesson for the new foundation, and Councillor Wardrop and myself are on that, to make sure that there are maybe smaller increases over the years. But I think everybody got hit with COVID. We were quite happy that we didn't have to increase it for 4 years, because of the COVID funding, and then it finally went away, so it kind of caught up to us there, so, yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, to the motion that this is reading it the second time, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, need a mover that bylaw 2514 be given 3 readings at this meeting. Mover for that motion, Councillor Goodenough. All those in favor? Carried. Need a mover for this motion that bylaw 2514, being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta, to set a rate for the levy on assessed value of property subject to taxation for the year 2025, be read a third time and adopted. Councillor Nesbitt, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, another municipal and school reserve bylaw. Need a mover for the motion that bylaw 2515, being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta for the purpose of designating parcels of land as municipal and school reserves, be introduced and read a first time. Mover for that motion, Councillor Juska. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, need a mover for the motion that bylaw 2515 be read a second time. Mover for that motion, Councillor Wardrop. Okay, planner Gavin Scott.
Through the Chair to Mayor and Council, at the March 25th, 2025 Council Committee meeting, it was decided that portions of land lying south of the Francophone School be dedicated as municipal and school reserve. This dedication requires the passing of a bylaw in accordance with MGA Section 665. The dedication as municipal and school reserve has the intent to utilize the land for a future grassland school division school site. Should this construction not occur, the site may be utilized as city park and open space until such time as it is needed. Following this dedication, the next steps for the parcel of land will be to perform a subdivision to separate the parcel which is attached legally to 2 other pieces. Then the lot amalgamation will be required to combine the lots and will form the school site, followed by a land use bylaw amendment to designate the lands as public and quasi-public service. This process will include a public hearing whereby the adjacent property owners may contribute their opinions. There are no financial impacts to this decision. This change is connected to Council's focus on future developments, specifically the identification of new school sites. Recommendation is that Council pass all 3 readings tonight on bylaw 2515.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Goodenough.
Sorry, I'm not seeing the size of the lot. Or I think in your, is there, how many acres is that?
I believe it's just over 8 acres.
8 acres?
Yes.
And in our previous discussions with school properties, you gave an example. Can I add?
Yeah.
Sorry, just to make sure. Wanted to make clarification. Didn't want to get out of order, out of line. You talked about the ideal situation for properties, school properties, and what they're looking for in municipalities. Does 8 acres fit within that?
Yeah, so this is an elementary school request. There is an adjoining field that would be utilized as co-utilization with the Francophone school, and that would get them that play field as well as a sizable parcel to build the building itself. There are recommendations through the government as to the size of these sites. This does meet with those recommendations, with the field being included as a joint use field.
All right, thank you very much for that clarification.
Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, need a mover for the motion that bylaw 2515 be given 3 readings at this meeting. Mover for that motion, Councillor Jessica. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, mover for the motion bylaw 2515 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta for the purpose of designating parcels of land as municipal and school reserve be read a 3rd time and adopted. Mover for that motion, Councillor Idris. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Gavin. Okay, any questions from the media? I don't see the media here. I guess Sandra can phone me tomorrow, or anybody can phone me tomorrow there too. Need a mover that council close the meeting to the public for agenda item 10A, land matters, as per section 16 FOIP, and agenda item 10B, personnel, as per section 17 FOIP at 5:59. Need a mover for that motion. Councillor Wardrop. All those in favor? Carried.